Again, welcome. We are so happy that you have joined us on this Thursday, and we hope that you can learn something. And hopefully you've downloaded the onX Backcountry app so you can follow along with some of the tips and tricks that we're going to be showing you guys. And if not, no worries, we'll give you guys several opportunities to download throughout this night. So let's see here. I am Emily Ellis. I work at onX Backcountry. I've been working with them for about a year now, and I'm a vertical marketing manager and use onX religiously for not only ski touring and mountain biking and backpacking, but also so many other really fun things like I think are fun, morel hunting for mushrooms and scouting out camping spots for the future, and just using all of the onX features kind of throughout whatever events happen in the backcountry. All right, so we have Sarah Mac with us. Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Sarah Mac. My real name is Sarah McGregor. I go by Sarah Mac, and I live in Winter Park, Colorado. I am an AMGA trained splitboard, rock, and alpine guide. And if you're not familiar with what the AMGA is, that stands for American Mountain Guides Association, and they provide high caliber mountain guide training within the United States. And they are a member of the IFMGA, which certifies mountain guides to international standards. So I've been training with the AMGA for about 9 years. I'm still not fully internationally certified. Fun fact about me is I am one of 5 women in the country who've taken the advanced ski guide course and aspirant exam. There's currently no women who are certified splitboard guides within the country yet. And so, yeah, I'm among, some girlfriends kind of working towards this together. So it's a really fun journey that I'm on. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm also an ARI avalanche instructor. I also work on the course staff for the ARI team. If you're unfamiliar with ARI, ARI provides avalanche education curriculum to about 120 providers across the country, including 3 international providers. And we can talk about this more if you're interested, but we all highly recommend that you take at least your level 1 avalanche training. ARI is just one of other providers that can provide this training for you. And I'm also on the Weston Backcountry Guide team. Weston Backcountry is a ski and snowboard manufacturer. They're one of the top in the country and the world. And I'm really grateful to be connected with these folks because they put their money where their mouth is. They support and provide a lot of donations to organizations such as the Forest Service, and ARI, and they also provide scholarship funding to underrepresented identities. But more than anything else, they have a really amazing, inclusive, supportive community that I'm grateful to be a part of, and that's the Kool-Aid I want to drink. So that's just a little bit about Weston, and then I just wanted to share a little bit about my story. I started snowboarding in high school as soon as I could afford a ski pass, and I went to college at Colorado State in Fort Collins and quickly learned that I didn't want to deal with the I-70 traffic in Colorado. And that was actually what inspired me to start getting into the backcountry. So, as many of you may have already done, I checked that level 1 avalanche box and I thought I was good to go. I bought my Beacon probe and shovel and I started hucking it off of Diamond Peak on Cameron Pass, which is also where we're going to be demonstrating a tour plan today. And by hucking it, I mean tomahawking. I was not a very good snowboarder at the time. And turns out backcountry conditions are a little bit more challenging than in resort conditions. And I found that out the hard way in avalanche terrain, making poor decisions. And so I'm really glad that y'all are here in hopes that we can support you in not making poor decisions like I made. There were 3 kind of major things that supported me in becoming a more confident backcountry user. And one of those things is is leading. I started asking my partners if I could take the lead, and I highly recommend that you all do this. It's really important to put your brain in that space where you're using your terrain assessment skills and more. Another thing that was really empowering for me was using my mapping skills. As soon as I learned how to make my own tour plans and take my tour plans with me in the field, I felt so empowered to make good decisions and support and engage in the conversation with my partners instead of just like following blindly. And the third thing that helped support me was taking my level 1 class 3 times. I felt like the education was super perishable. And so I just kept on retaking it. And I really didn't feel confident until I completed my 3rd one. In all 3 of these classes, I had never once been taught mapping skills. So I'm really excited to be sharing these skills with you and hope that you get a lot of value from it. And I'll go ahead and pass it off to Sierra to introduce herself and talk a little bit about SheJumps.
Thanks, Sarah. It's going to be a tough one to follow. You're so cool. But my name is Sierra Schlag. I live in Carbondale, Colorado, which is right outside of Aspen. So you've got a good Colorado-Utah crew right now. But I am a skier. I've been backcountry skiing for about 5 or 6 years. And like Sarah, I lived in Denver and was kind of getting over I-70 traffic. I went to the University of Denver and I just graduated school and I took my AVI 1. And I felt like in Denver, there's a lot of pretty like high traffic, low risk areas to start going into. And so I was going out with friends that were kind of newer to the backcountry, but we were feeling safer because it was pretty low angle. But I didn't feel like I was going out with people that had more knowledge as me. And so I was kind of in the same boat of like, we're kind of newbies, we don't really know what we're doing. And so I started seeking out more backcountry partners that had more knowledge than me. And I would just ask them questions relentlessly on the skin track. And that's how I kind of gained more confidence. And we got into situations where I just like maybe didn't feel as comfortable as they did. And I just kept being like, why are you making these decisions? And I think I continue to do that in my backcountry training because you're never going to know everything about skiing in the backcountry and backcountry terrain. And so being open with your communication and just asking as many questions as possible is going to make you gain more confidence and just feel more comfortable in the backcountry. Yeah, then I'm also an ambassador for Onyx and SheJumps. And so I can go into more about SheJumps. But SheJumps is a really great nonprofit organization that focuses on the inclusion and education and empowerment of anyone that identifies as female. So we work to get women and girls out into the outdoors, whether it's skiing or biking or hiking, kind of whatever outdoor activity. And we do that through events and mentorship. And SheJumps has a really great scholarship program. So that kind of breaks down the barriers because, as we know, outdoor sports are quite expensive. So it kind of just gives more access to people that might not otherwise be able to afford outdoor sports, which is great. But also, as we know, the outdoor industry is a very male-dominated sport. So SheJumps is like really paving the way to kind of change the narrative and have more representation because honestly, skiing with ladies is like such a better experience than skiing with men. So yeah, just creating a bigger environment for that. And as you can see, there's like volunteers spread out across the nation, except for like direct dead center of the country. But they're planning events, they're getting people together, and it's really amazing.
Awesome. We're so lucky to have Sarah and Sierra with us tonight. So thank you both. We really appreciate it. We're going to go over the agenda for this evening right now, just so you guys kind of have a view of what is going on. We are going to just talk about what Onyx Backcountry is. We're going to talk about how to assemble a crew. How do you find backcountry partners, especially if you're someone who's a little bit newer or you want to explore a new zone, what that entails. Conditions, creating and organizing a tour plan. We're going to spend a lot of time in the app looking at terrain and building a plan, and then taking your plan into the field. How do you do that? What does that look like? And then at the end, we're going to have a Q&A. So either put your questions that you have in the Q&A box here on Zoom, or wait till the end. But if you're like me and forget questions, just put them in the Q&A box and we'll address them at the end. All right. So if you have not downloaded the Onyx Backcountry app, feel free to do so by scanning this. Today, all of you guys are going to save 30% on Onyx Backcountry. And what's really cool about this is 20% of the proceeds will go back to SheJumps and support SheJumps, because we love them. And without further ado, a little bit of history on Onyx Backcountry. So Onyx started as a hunting navigation app back in 2009. And I'm not sure if any of you guys are familiar with hunting, but navigation is crucial. And so Onyx was really able to get a lot of data and perfect mapping. Fast forward to 2021, Onyx Backcountry was born, and we have taken expertise from people all over the country who are in the backcountry day in and day out, working, recreating, and really taking their knowledge and expertise and putting everything into this app. And we are very excited with where we have come so far with Onyx Backcountry. Onyx Backcountry at a glance. So for those of you who have used it and those of you who have not used it, I think that this is really important to go over just because you might not know all of its features. So it's a multi-season tool. I'll give you guys a little tour of the app right after this, but there's trail and snow mode with over 770,000 trails, 27,000 trail routes and adventures that can be seeked out, 11 detailed ski guidebooks. We've actually partnered with Beacon Guidebooks, who's one of the leading guidebooks in the country, and all of that is in our app for skiing. Offline maps and navigation, which is super crucial when you're out in the backcountry and without service, to have all of that downloaded in your pocket and in the palm of your hand. Color-coded public land ownership, customizable map markup tools, so you can make your map your own. However your brain works, you can put it into your app and view it that way. Slope angle, slope aspect layers, which we're going to touch on a little bit later. Snow conditions such as snow-tell stations and weather reports. For those of you who are not familiar with what snow-tell stations are, they are live readings of what snow depth is, what the precipitation is, and there are over 800 of them here in the country, and we have all of them in our app, which is incredible to resource when you're planning your backcountry days. Avalanche forecast, GPS tracking, and route building tools. What makes Onyx Backcountry a little bit different than other navigation apps? Reliability, and we have really built Onyx based off of this from the ground up. My favorite thing about Onyx Backcountry, or one of my favorite things, is the user interface and how easy it is to navigate through. The content is high quality, curated guidebook content, along with privacy. No one can see your routes besides you or who you decide to share your routes with. So we get this question a lot. If I put in photos, if I put in, you know, my secret POW stash or whatever it is by dropping a waypoint, can someone else find that? Not unless you share with them. And then purpose driven. We're really committed to access and stewardship, which is an incredible value prop for Onyx Backcountry. Commitment to supporting avalanche forecasting and awareness to research. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it back to Sierra, and she can kind of touch on how to find people to go backcountry skiing with.
I don't think the slides are changing on the, oh, there we go. It's
okay.
Good.
We got it.
I think it caught up. I don't know if there's like a lag or something. But the first step in planning a tour is assembling your crew. And so you might have a bunch of friends that are into backcountry skiing and snowboarding, or you know no one that is into it. And so a really great way to find people that are trying to get into backcountry skiing are through events. As I mentioned with SheJumps, they host a lot of events, and it doesn't need to be like your area level one. It can be anything from like a ski and snowboard waxing night or a film premiere where you can just meet other women that live in your area that are kind of interested in what you want to be doing. And then Weston also has an amazing events page. And then there are Facebook groups in your area. And I think Erie has a women's mentorship program. And I think there are going to be links to all of those events. And then you can also hire a guide. So you could hire someone like Sarah to bring you out into the backcountry, which is also a really great option because she's so knowledgeable. You can pick her brain the entire time you're out there, and you'll be with a trained professional to keep you safe at whatever skill level you have. But another key component of assembling a crew is making sure you guys are on the same page of your goals, your ability levels, all of your risk tolerances, and your vulnerabilities. And so what we're going to do today, Emily, Sarah, and I are going to go and plan a tour. And so we're going to be talking through all of these things before we get started. Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect.
I'm so excited to ski with you both.
I know. It's gonna be
Cool.
exciting.
What are your goals?
Well, I think first what we should do is see about a zone and getting comfortable with our mapping navigation tool. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to open up Onyx Backcountry, and I'm going to give you guys all just a tour of the app right now and just talk over a couple of key things within the app that are super important to know. To follow along, I'm going to be narrating just kind of the direction of where I'll be going. I'm going to start at the bottom left-hand corner at the snow button. You'll see a purple snowflake. I'm going to tap on that, and that is where you can toggle between snow and trail mode. I'm obviously on snow mode right now because it's winter and it's dumping here in Utah, but if you're somewhere else and you want to go hiking or trail running or something else, you can just click on that walker hiker icon to the trail mode. But we'll save that for a couple months from now. So in snow mode, you can choose your activity type. I don't have any selected right now, but if I wanted to go ski touring, I could click on the ski touring tab. And while I'm ski touring, what map layers do I want to see? I want to see what the avalanche forecast is, because that is first and foremost an extremely important deciding factor on going ski touring. You'll see slope angle, slope aspect, what the trail slope is, public land, and private land. Right now, I just want to see what the forecast is, so I'll just hit done. And you can see I'm hovering over Colorado, and you can see all of those variable conditions in the Rockies there. So I'm going to then move up to the top left and touch that little hamburger bar. The first thing that I did when I downloaded Onyx Backcountry was I went to settings, and I went to show crosshairs, and I toggled show crosshairs on. So you can always kind of see where you're looking and where Onyx is pinpointing. Pinch to rotate is also a key for me. That way it's like just super easy to zoom in, zoom out, and toggle between different perspectives. So here in your settings is kind of where you can use and manipulate however you would like. Okay, so moving to the top right-hand corner, you will see the search bar. This is where you can search for different destinations. I want to go to a specific zone, or I'm curious about trailheads or overnight camping, or just different keywords. You can always search them here in this search tab. The weather icon right below that, it's green circular, it says 30 degrees. that is where my current location is, and it's weather. So I'm here in Utah. This is what the weather is looking at. Moon phases are in here, wind speeds, pressure. It's all in the palm of your hand right here, which is awesome. Okay. Hybrid maps is you were going all the way down to the bottom right-hand corner now. And we're in 2D mode right now, but I really want to see what the mountains look like. So I'm going to switch over to 3D mapping and kind of just hover over. Let's go to Steamboat and see what Steamboat is looking like here. And you can really get a nice perspective on the gradients of where you are with this 3D satellite feature. And then down at the bottom, you will see that little crosshairs button. If you touch on that, it's going to bring me all the way back to where I am at. So if you're lost and you're like, wait, where the heck am I? You can always touch that bottom right hand button and it will zap you back to where you are. I'm going to go back to Colorado though, because I want to be with Sarah and Sierra. So that is a little bit of a tour of the map and Onyx Backcountry. We're going to dive deeper into the desktop version and tour plan on our desktop version. So without further ado, I will be switching it over to Sarah, who is going to kind of lead on where we're going and the mapping experience via the desktop.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If you don't mind just leaving this slide up for just a second, we gotta check in with the crew before we even know where we're going, right? So first thing we're going to do is identify our goals and our abilities and our risk tolerance. And then hopefully we can uncover some vulnerabilities. And this will help us decide where we're going. So I think our goals, we've discussed this earlier, right? So our goals are to ski good snow, right? And to not get involved in an avalanche. Any other goals I should know about, Sierra and Emily?
Have fun.
Have fun. Oh, I love it.
Fun. And I don't know, I'm kind of feeling like I would love to ski something that is like have some fun trees or just looking for a little bit, not like too challenging terrain, but not just a walk in the park. I'm thinking that we should do something a little bit spicy if you guys are up for that.
I'm here for it. I love it.
Okay. But we'll check on avalanche conditions.
Right. We can have a goal and we can always dial it back from there, from what we find, right?
Absolutely.
Great. So now, like talking about abilities, you know, we just want to make sure that any objectives that we seek out are within the abilities of our crew, right? So can we even hike as fast as we need to be to accomplish this objective in a day, depending on how long it is, right? So we can talk about, you know, what our pace is and things like that if we know them. Our risk tolerance, you know, my risk tolerance is I don't want to go anywhere where I think that an avalanche could slide that is large enough to kill a person. That's my risk tolerance, but I'm okay skiing avalanche terrain if there are no avalanche problems existing on that piece of terrain. What do y'all think about that?
Agreed.
That's great.
Okay, great. So some vulnerabilities could be things like, you know what, I didn't sleep well last night, or I had a fight with my boyfriend. I'm not feeling great today. You know, it could be like, hey, I want you to know about a human factor that I tend to get into. And it's true. Every time I'm staring down at a line, everything I know about like staying safe in the backcountry just goes away. So I need you all to know that I have that vulnerability so you can keep me in check. Does that sound okay?
Totally.
Perfect.
Awesome. So these are some things that can like help inform our trip decisions. And basically, the lower our risk tolerance or the more vulnerabilities we have, the more simple terrain we should choose, right? I actually am feeling pretty good with all of these things. And I think that we should consider a spicier option. What do y'all think?
Sounds
Love
good.
it.
Yay. Okay, cool. So I will go ahead and take over screen share now. All right. Okay, can I get some thumbs up if you can see this map here? Okay, sounds good. Great. So here's Colorado, and I'm on the desktop version. So Emily just got done kind of giving us a lay of the land on the mobile version, and everything is here too. So why don't we just go ahead and find our spot? We've decided that we wanted to check out Cameron Pass today. So we can kind of like zoom in, and we can already see there's like a weather forecast down here, and then we can turn on the avalanche forecast, right? Okay, so we are in an orange zone, which means the avalanche danger is considerable, or the highest avalanche danger that we're in is considerable. And we can always search for Cameron Pass. Cool, we're right there. Perfect. All right, so there's a couple different things. Like one of my favorite things that I love about Onyx Backcountry is I can turn on ski touring. And this gives me like a whole lot of options that we can think about if we don't really know where to go. Or we can turn it off and we can like play around without it, right? So when you click on one of these lines, it tells you what the terrain is rated on the AITS scale. AITS is the avalanche terrain exposure scale. And there are 3 readings: simple, challenging, and complex. Simple terrain stays out of avalanche terrain almost completely. Most of the options are low angle. Challenging terrain gives you plenty of options to reduce your exposure. In complex terrain, there are very few options to reduce our exposure. So what I understand from our Assemble the Crew talk is that we're accepting challenging terrain on our ski tour, but maybe just not complex terrain quite yet until maybe the spring. So that's just some cool things. So on this particular line down North Diamond Peak, which is also the peak that I used to huck it off of, aka somersault, that we can also see the elevation change of the route. And we can see all of these options here about like the distance and the max slope angle. And you can read this right here. This is directly from Beacon guidebooks, talking about the route and any sort of things to be aware of. And if you're wondering what challenging even means, if you forget, then the definition's right here. And so right down here, why don't we just go ahead and navigate straight to the avalanche forecast? Because that's important, but we know what the forecast is. We're going for tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So it goes directly to your zone's forecast, and we're going to ski tour in Colorado. So it took us to the CAIC, and I'm just going to type in our zone, Cameron Pass, Colorado. Enter. Let's try again. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, our forecast comes out at 4:30 p.m. the night before. So this just got published. And for tomorrow, the avalanche danger is going to be considerable above tree line, moderate, near tree line, and low, below tree line. In Colorado, avalanches that are large enough to kill a person can start to happen at the moderate danger rating. So I personally treat moderate the same as I treat considerable. And you want to be sure that you're reading this summary and pulling out the key points here. You can trigger an avalanche where recently drifted snow forms a cohesive slab at higher, more exposed elevation. Avoid bulbous or hollow sounding pillows of snow directly below ridgelines and convex rollovers and inside of gully features on northerly and easterly facing slopes. If you notice recent avalanches or shooting cracks within the new snow, move to wind sheltered low angle slopes for safer travel. Great. So I'm going to take that into my tour plan, and that's going to kind of inform like, what are some of the key points? Sounds like we're looking for signs of wind loading and wind affected snow, right? It sounds like we got to be on the lookout for red flags. What is a red flag? So you all out there don't get to just sit there. I want you to type in some red flags into the chat. What is a red flag? Red flag is a sign of increasing avalanche danger. And a red flag is super important for us to be aware of as we're checking the avalanche forecast, as we're checking the weather, and as we're touring throughout the day. So I'm just gonna like go super fast through these red flags. I'm at avalanche.org, which is the American Avalanche Association. We're gonna go to this tutorial under education. And we'll come up here to recognize red flags. Cool. Are there entries coming in through the chat?
Oh yeah.
All right.
We have got some smart backcountry travelers here.
I love it. I love it. Great. Recent avalanches. If you see other avalanches happening, then that means it's possible, like if they're happening here, they could also happen over here. So you want to take note of the general elevation and the general aspect, because that means avalanches can slide on similar slopes. What does aspect mean? All right, keep working, crew who's listening out there. What is slope aspect? I'll give you 5 more seconds. All right, slope aspect is the direction of face slopes. So if you are standing on top of a slope, staring down at the line that you're about to ski, the direction that you are facing on a compass is the slope aspect. And so slope aspect is relevant because the snow changes depending on its relationship to sun and wind and other weather factors. So it's important to know what the slope aspect is. All right, recent avalanches.
I'm going to jump in and say a cool thing that we have in our app that Onyx Backcountry has is you can see when you toggle those features on exactly what the slope aspect and the slope angle are in your exact location if you're out in the field or for where you're planning on going. So it's not a guessing game. You can see exactly what these aspects are in the app.
Yeah, it is such a cool feature. I love that. And I'll show that in a second. Okay, cool. So signs of unstable snow, such as cracking or collapsing. Cracking is the sign that there is a cohesive layer over a weak layer. And you can see some cracking that might be coming out from like your skis. And collapsing is a widespread, like low toned, like a settlement of the slope that is an avalanche that just didn't slide because the terrain wasn't steep enough to slide. All right, you're still working out there. What slope angle of terrain is capable of producing a slab avalanche? What do we got in there?
Some
All right.
30 to 30, 45, over 30%,
Awesome.
27 degrees, 30 and above.
I love it. Yeah. For the purposes if we're beginners here, we're just gonna say like anything above 30 degrees. So we'll show you what that even looks like on a map here in a second. Cool. Snowpack does not do well when there are large loads added to the slope, either from heavy snowfall, rain, or from the wind blowing the snow. So those are 2 red flags. And rapid warming. What happens when the temperatures get warm is all of the bonds of the snowpack start to lose cohesion, and that can cause avalanches. So these are just like 5 red flags. And then just in general, whenever you see persistent slab on the forecast, like your spidey sense should pop up. And whenever we see these red flags in the field, or like in the weather forecast or in like observations on your forecast website, this is your clue to dial back your terrain selection and choose a more conservative route. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that. So there are some like things in the summary here that are asking us to keep a lookout for red flags. Cool. So now we keep scrolling, right? And it's identifying 2 avalanche problems for the day. And so in this little compass rose, the center is above tree line. And this mid elevation band is the mid circle here. And then below tree line is the outer circle here. And it shades where we can expect to find these avalanche problems. So we're expecting to find wind slabs that are large. Anytime you see large, it means it can be big enough to kill a person. So large enough to kill a person, and the likelihood is likely. I personally don't want to gamble with that. Y'all feeling okay with avoiding terrain that has a wind slab on it?
100%.
All right, perfect. So persistence lab. That's one of the red flags that the A3, aka the American Avalanche Association, has identified that we need to look out for. Anytime that's on the forecast, we got to have our heads up. So the aspects that we're finding persistence lab on are north through east, above, and near tree line. It's unlikely, but if it were to go, it could still kill a person. I don't want to gamble with that. How about y'all?
No way.
No way.
So what this is telling me is that we can probably still seek challenging terrain on a different side of the compass. Does that sound okay for you?
Sounds great.
So these are kind of like the big takeaways. Every Avalanche Center's website is a little bit different, and this is just one version. Another thing that I highly recommend that you check out is looking at the observations to see what sort of recent avalanches have been happening. And the Avalanche Explorer on the CISC website is particularly user-friendly, but I'm mainly looking to see if there's anything above a D2. So that's just the destruction scale. It's D1 to D5. Anything D2 or above is large enough to kill a person, and I don't want to mess with that. But it looks like recent avalanches haven't been that big. So this gives me a little bit more confidence that we could carry out our plan and get into some more challenging terrain. Cool. Anything to add so far, Sierra and Emily?
Oh, Kara brought up a nice comment, is that CIIC uses dynamic mapping. So the zones are not going to stay the same. So depending on if there's like a big storm that comes in or a big weather event, your avalanche zones may change. So that's something to be aware of. But I think other forecasters might have just like strict zones.
Yeah, thank you so much for pointing out that difference. Yeah, our zones change based on where the actual problem lives. And that's why, like, for our website, just use the search feature to find your location. Yeah, thanks, Sierra. All right, cool. So we're coming back to the map here. We're going to click on this snow button up here, right? And you can toggle between trails just like Emily showed us and snow. And we have like the beacon guidebooks data turned on. We're going to go ahead and turn that off. And this is that slope aspect shading. And we have this key in the compass right down here. Can you see my compass?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So all of those colors tell us exactly what the aspect is. So the north through southeast near and above tree line is essentially where we're deciding to stay away from, right? Oh, I already lost it, but that's okay. So anything that's basically blue to yellow is terrain that we want to stay away from as long as it's above the near tree line elevation band. And that's a super useful tool to have. And then slope angle shading. There should be a key up here if y'all can see that. Hopefully our faces aren't covering it. But as you can see, anything that is not shaded, anything that is shaded green, and anything that's shaded yellow is below 30 degrees. And what do we know about avalanches? They can occur on terrain 30 degrees or above. So we're going to use that along with the slope aspect to determine what terrain we can ski. Cool. All right. So we are in, let's see. So there's this SnowTel data, which is really sweet. So we want to look at weather, right? So we're thinking about red flags, and we can collect and fill in, we can collect data and fill in as much of our uncertainty as possible right now, or like while we're sipping on a beer, while our brains are in like a better headspace. And so I'm just going to go ahead and collect as much data as I can. Let's click on this Joe Wright SnowTel, and it looks like this SnowTel is reporting 0-inch accumulation in the past 24 hours. Do you think that weather stations can be just as glitchy as any other piece of technology? It's possible. And to be honest, I don't believe that, because I have like 1.5 feet outside and I'm only an 1.5 hours away from the SnowTel site. So I don't know. That's like a piece of uncertainty that we can like just take note of and get more information once we're out in the field. Sound good? Cool. So we can collect information about temperature, snow depth, about wind speeds, though generally SnowTels are low in elevation and are like a great indicator of wind speeds. But you can get like all sorts of information here, and you can even click directly to the SnowTel website and get like a whole bunch more data there. And so we care about new snow, right? Because that's a red flag. We care about wind. And so we can get a forecast also. So let's see here. Let me find our spot. I think I want to go into the 7 Utes zone. And I think that is, give me just 1 second. Where is the 7 Utes zone? Oh yeah, it's like the parking area is right here. Cool. So if we wanted to kind of click where we're planning on going, maybe just somewhere in the center of the 7 Utes zone, we can pull up a whole bunch of information about this specific waypoint. So it can find nearby routes, photos, and weather. And that was something I also forgot to mention, is that you can pull up photos of the ski terrain directly through the Beacon Guidebook's data when you have that toggled on. So here's the forecast. It's currently 7 degrees. The wind is southwest at 15 miles per hour. We care about wind if it's above 17 miles per hour, because that's when it's starting to transport snow and cause one of those red flags, right? Cool. We care about sunrise and sunset because, I mean, depending on what our plan is, moonlight tours are a thing. I wasn't planning on skinning in the dark. Were either of you? Okay,
No.
well. So it's good to know I want to be back to the car before 5:45, and we should probably give ourselves a margin. So maybe like shoot for back to the car by 5. And then there's a whole bunch more information about the weather forecast that you can pull up here. I love Onyx Backcountry because it's just a one-stop shop. You can like pull everything up in the app here. So cool. And then we can get so much more information when we click down here. We can go to 3D mode, we can go to satellite mode, and I personally prefer the hybrid mode because it gives me satellite along with my contour lines. Cool. So let's go ahead and just create a tour. Do y'all have anything to add before we kind of jump right into making the tour?
Let's do it.
Great.
Okay, I love it. So I have this line on here because I was thinking there might be some good snow there. Where do you think the good snow is? I mean, the wind's been blowing. We're expecting wind slabs. There's probably not good snow above tree line right now.
True.
I mean, unless there's like some sheltered slopes. But that can be like a source of uncertainty that we can like take note of and fill in the blanks once we're in the field. So I was thinking that like this might be an option through here. What aspect is this? Let's see. If we're not sure, we just turn on this fancy feature here. Look, that's mostly west, right? So is there an avalanche problem existing on west slopes? Let's see. Let's come back here. Can we pass? No, there's not. You think we can get away with skiing avalanche terrain on the west side of the compass?
I think so.
Oh, sweet. All right. Cool. So that's like, I would call that challenging terrain. It's cutting it kind of close to this orange spot here, but we can just play it by ear in the field to see if we're noticing any red flags, and then we might be able to like choose a couple lines in these trees here if we want to get into like some steeper terrain. Yeah. Okay. All right. What else looks cool? I was thinking we could ski we could come up here and then see if there is a wind slab up here. We can identify, some of that uncertainty. And if not, we might be able to like ski something like all the way down into here.
That looks good too.
Yeah, that would be fun.
So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to make it blue because I feel like it stands out. And let's just kind of go straight. And I have satellite turned on so I know like where the trees are. And we can just kind of like pick a line through here. Hopefully that's like a little less treed. right? And
Mhm.
then whenever the contour lines point uphill, that means it's a gully, which means we might be able to find some more protected snow in there. So maybe we can kind of play around with this. And we're cutting up pretty close to some avalanche terrain here, but given the conditions of the day and given our risk tolerance, we've decided that like we might be able to pull this off, right?
Are we concerned about terrain traps at all when we're in this gully?
Yeah, we probably should be, right?
Yeah.
Anytime we have a gully, we should be aware of terrain traps. Here, I'm actually gonna label that. Let's label that plan A. And then if we're, depending on what we see, it's really important that we have options, right? Because we, if we don't like create options for ourselves, then we kind of set ourselves up to be really committed to one option and maybe make some poor decisions in the field, right? So I think that this is a pretty good backup option. If we don't like what we're seeing and we, maybe we should draw like add a waypoint. If we're not quite sure about what we're seeing, maybe we should dig a pit somewhere, right?
Totally.
Okay. So do you think that this is relatively representative of, let's, I don't know, where do you guys want to dig a pit? Somewhere here?
Yeah.
We can play it by ear too. Make it yellow. Cool. Well, there's a couple options. This might be like a more aggressive option because of the terrain trap. And this might be like a less aggressive option because it stays low angle and it's a more protected option as well. So we're not expecting to find wind slabs up there.
Perfect.
All right. So then how are we going to get there? Let's see. The parking area is over here. Sorry, did I hear someone open their mouth ready to provide a suggestion?
Oh, we have a question about where is a good place to dig a pit and how do you decide that?
I love that so much. Okay, so with pit digging, it needs to be representative, right? Representative of what you want to ski or the terrain that you have uncertainty about, right? It needs to be polite because nobody wants to ski into a hole, right? And last but not least, should have said this one first, it needs to be safe, right? So those are the three things that you should think about with where to dig your pit. Does that help?
I think so.
Okay, cool. So why don't we just kind of start setting a skin track in here.
And I'd love to point out too that, things are always subject to change. And this is a great way to have a really good understanding of the terrain that you're heading out in and the game plan for the next day. So don't be, concerned, I would say, if something comes up in the morning and your plan does need to change. That's why, you can make a couple of different routes and just survey it then.
Yeah, totally. In fact, it's really important that you find partners who are willing to change the plan. Okay, cool. So I don't know. I think I found so one thing to think about where to put your skin track is just thinking about a game of odds. You spend way more time in the terrain on the uphill than you do on the downhill, right? Like 3 hours on the uphill and like 20 minutes on the downhill. So like just playing with a game of odds, you're way more likely to become involved in an avalanche on the uphill if you're moving through avalanche terrain. I personally prefer to keep my skin track unquestionably safe. And if I'm choosing to ski avalanche terrain, at least I'm reducing my exposure by moving fast through the downhill, right? So I just put a skin track through here that does not even touch any of the orange, aka any terrain that's above 30. And I do have to say one thing that, all pieces of technology have inaccuracies. So you really have to take this with a grain of salt. This is a really great resource for you to like get a generalized idea of where you want to go and a generalized slope angle. But there are resolution inaccuracies with any piece of technology and with any mapping tool that you use. So it's really important that you also know how to measure slope angle when you're in the field and keep your awareness open so that you have the ability to change the plan if you need to. So I put my line, you know, through this is kind of steep, so I might have like some more switchbacks in here. And then I put it all the way up to my plan A descent. And I have a pit that I decided to dig here. And we might even have that be like a decision point. Like, how are we thinking? Like, is this what we expected, or are conditions worse than what we thought? And depending on what we decide kind of in this location, we may choose to continue up and continue to monitor our conditions as we go. If we aren't concerned by what we find, then maybe we can continue descending this line. And guess what? If you get through one of these like smaller, shorter sections of avalanche terrain and you don't like it, you turn around. You just go ahead and you ski down, maybe ski to somewhere safe here and put your skins back on and go right back out the way you came, because hopefully your skin track was the safest possible route, right? Cool. What do y'all have to add here?
I am coming from Utah, so do you think you could send me this route so I have it on my phone?
Yeah, most definitely. Let's see. Why don't I go ahead and add like a parking lot icon right here. And this is really important. Like, I really want to make sure that my partners are on the same page as me and that we're all like, we have consensus about where we're going. It matters to me that not only do they know where we're going also, but what if my phone dies? If I'm like relying on my phone as my main source of for maps, then I better hope I have a backup option. And my backup options are my friends, and I bring an extra battery too. So yeah, thanks for saying that.
And when Sarah sends this to us, we can all download the map. So oftentimes you're out of service when you're going on a ski tour. So you can download the map so it's always there for you, even if you're out of service, which is a really great feature.
Totally. All right,
Absolutely.
let's see. I didn't label all of these very well, but I think I got it. So I go over here to my content and I added some lines and I labeled them. I labeled some of them. And I'm just going to mark those, and I'm going to, I can either share them here by just copying that link, or I can add them to a folder. Tour day with the ladies. All right, 3 items added to my folder. I want to get those waypoints in there. Select these waypoints, add to folder. Perfect. And now when I come over to my content, your tour day with the ladies, I'm going to share. I'm just going to copy this link. Do you all want a copy of this? Should this go straight into the chat?
Why not? Let's do it.
All right. I have to figure out how to share how to get to the chat. Let me stop sharing real quick. Technology is a fun thing. All right, here's my tour plan. Only do it when when the avalanche conditions warrant, right? All right, so there's that, and you can go ahead and upload that into your mobile device. Cool. And so now it's time to go into the field, right? I'm going to make sure all my friends feel good about the plan. And maybe, Emily, would you mind showing us how we can download the maps?
Absolutely. So can you guys see my phone?
Yes.
Awesome. So I have that now. I have the folder. Thanks, Sarah, for sending that over with our plan for tomorrow. And this is how, you can share so easily with your crew. What I'm going to do is click this offline map down at the bottom bar, and I would like to create a new offline map. And here's Cameron Pass. This blue square around Cameron Pass is a 10-mile radius with medium resolution. This is perfect for what we will be doing tomorrow. So I don't need to increase the square and decrease the resolution. So I'm just going to save that as my offline map. And you can see here it's downloading, and I can put my phone in airplane mode and not have it interfere with my beacon and not have it suck all of my battery and not have to worry about wondering where we are, because now I have that downloaded offline map just in my pocket, which is one of the best features that I think that we could have going into tomorrow. One of the best features. So can you guys see my screen still?
Yeah.
Okay. We just went through the demo. And again, if you have questions, this is when we're going to answer some of them. I have been checking in on the Q&A box, and it seems like our customer service is doing an amazing job at answering some of those questions. But let's give you guys, we're about out of time, but we'll do, let's do 5 minutes for some Q&As. So if you want to re-enter them in the chat, or if you have new questions that you've been hanging on to, now is the time to do that. And while you guys are entering those into the chat, we have a giveaway. So we're going to be giving away 25 Onyx Backcountry hats. Just to thank you guys so much for joining us this evening. You can scan this QR code. Entry closes tonight at midnight, so be sure to enter, and we will make sure to get those hats out to you guys. All righty, let's see. Yes, so the question is, when you're out in the field and your phone is on airplane mode and you have that downloaded map, can Onyx still track you? It can. The blue dot that is where you are when you click those crosshairs is attached to satellite. So it can track you when you're in airplane mode and when you have your downloaded offline maps. So that's a great feature. You always can know where you are, whether you are on airplane mode or not. Let's see, Sierra or Sarah, do you guys have any like favorite things about the app that you think could be helpful if we don't have a whole lot more questions coming through?
I think I already said that my favorite thing about the app is that if I don't know where to go, there's already beacon guidebooks data right in there. So like, you don't even have to worry about like collecting a whole bunch of trip options. They're just right there.
Yeah.
Agreed. I would echo that. It's so nice. And this is not snow related, but I think in the summer when you're trying to find a camping spot, the like type of land is so helpful.
Yes. And to add something really exciting to that, Onyx Backcountry just launched our Elite membership, and the difference between the premium and Elite membership is you can see where private land parcels are now. So to echo Sierra, if you are trying to look for a camping spot or planning a ski tour and you think there's really cool terrain over here, you can now see if it's going through someone's private property versus always staying on public land or asking permission from whoever's private property that is. So very cool, and that's with Elite. And again, you would get 30% off tonight by signing up, and 20% of that membership cost goes back to SheJumps. So
amazing. Yeah, one thing I just wanted to share was that, there are a lot of areas that Onyx, that Beacon Guidebooks doesn't have a guidebook for yet. And that means we need to have our own training to be able to plan our own tour plans, right? And so it's just absolutely so important that you at least take your level 1 course so that you know where to go, and so that you know how to measure slope angle in the field, and so you know how to understand what aspect you're on in the field in other ways. So yeah, definitely look into taking your level 1 avalanche class if you haven't already. Yeah, super important.
And tonight's masterclass was recorded and will be up on our YouTube channel tomorrow. So if you tuned in late or missed the beginning or had to log off, we will have this up and live on YouTube tomorrow.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. Yeah, let me know if there are any other questions.
Looks awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much and enjoy the rest of your evening. And thank you so much to Sierra and Sarah. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Emily.
All righty. Bye, everyone.